If you have been aware of recent media, then you most likely have heard the title The Last of Us. Originally released in 2013, The Last of Us is one of the most popular game series, recently being adapted into an HBO original series starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as the iconic Joel and Ellie, originally played by Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson. The Last of Us takes place in an apocalyptic world filled with monstrous, zombified creatures trying to infect the rest of humanity. Now, you may be asking, well, what's so special about another zombie game? Why don't I just go watch The Walking Dead? Does The Walking Dead have Pedro Pascal? Didn't think so. What sets The Last of Us apart from every other zombie story that has been done over 1,000,000 times is the infected. A strain of Cordyceps mutates into substrates like flour and sugar in order to grow and spread. Mutated Cordyceps lead to monstrous fungal beings divided up into 4 stages and a couple of extra mutants. The first stage of infection, called the runners, are physically not much different from humans. Despite their pasty skin, thinning hair, and messy eating habits, they're practically someone you can take home to your parents, surely to steal your heart, figuratively and literally. Runners tend to be very vocal about their dislike for the fungus growing in their brains through their moaning and screaming, which can be heard through listen mode, a heightened sense of hearing all characters possess that allows them to locate enemies through walls. On their own, they don't tend to be much of a threat, being easily taken out with the stealth killer stock shot to the head, but they tend to travel in packs. Runners swarm around their victims relentlessly, which tends to not end very well for the victim. Stage 2, and the bane of my existence. Stalkers, true to their name, stalk their prey. They hide behind walls and furniture, quietly seeking out their next victim. Get too close or startle them with a loud noise, they'll pop out, get in a few good swings, and retreat back to safety of the walls. The most difficult thing about stalkers is they can go undetected through listen mode, allowing them to easily sneak up and attack. Clickers are completely blind due to the fungus completely flowering over the eyes of its host. Loyal to their name, they click. They use echolocation in order to detect surrounding threats or prey. They are extremely aggressive when provoked and are more difficult to kill due to their natural helmet. Most of the time they end up just yelling at the wall, but they got heart. Not sure if it's beating though. Bloaters have a complete fungus outer shell that acts as armor for the infected, making them difficult to kill. Not only that, bloaters have pockets of spores in their body that they throw like grenades and explode on impact. Bloaters are extremely strong and can rip a human head apart with their bare hands. Rest in peace, Perry. You won't be missed. Shamblers are only present in The Last of Us Part 2, what is believed to be a mutation of infection due to high humidity and heavy rainfall in the Seattle area led to an acidic creature. Pockets of acid and spores burst on impact and can cause severe burns to the skin. The origin of the Rat King came from a sealed basement in Seattle Hospital. As explained by Nora on Outbreak Day, the first wave of infected were pushed into the basement and left to rot.
There's a reason we haven't touched this area yet. It was ground zero for the whole city, where they brought the first infected before anyone knew better.
This caused several of the infected to fuse together to create the Rat King. Fighting the Rat King occurs when Abby looks for medical supplies needed to help Mel amputate Yara's arm. Halfway through the fight, a single super stalker pulls itself off of the mass, which you have to chase and kill after you defeat the large mass of fungi. What may not be known to players is the Last of Us infection is based off of real cordyceps that grow out of ants like an antenna. Similar to in-game, cordyceps spread to ants via spores. Ants step on pockets in the ground, which begins the zombification process. It's unknown whether cordyceps attack the brain or the muscle fibers of its host. Researchers at Penn State conducted an experiment where they observed a colony of infected ants under a fluorescent microscope. No fungal growth was found on the brain, but rather the cordyceps grew inside the muscle fibers of the ants. This is not the case in The Last of Us. As explained by Joel,
It grows all over the brain.
with the experiment being conducted in 2020 and the game being originally released in 2013 when it was believed that cordyceps did in fact grow in the brain, it's understandable why it was implemented into the game. What isn't terribly far off is the incubation period before the infection takes over its host. In-game, it takes around 2 days for the infection to take effect. Cordyceps grow and reproduce inside its host before finally taking over. What does differ, however, is the ants after the incubation period leaves its nest, reaches a high vantage point, sinks its jaw into a leaf, and explodes into spores. The spores then fall onto the paths of unsuspecting ants and begins their cycle again. Ants are unable to detect cordyceps infection. Normally, a sick ant would be thrown out of its colony or simply ripped apart. Cordyceps had the ability to go undetected, so making ants an easy target. So, is this brain-eating fungal apocalypse possible? Maybe. The only thing stopping us from becoming fungal beings is our high body temperatures. Cordyceps are unable to survive in temperatures over 94 degrees Fahrenheit, but due to climate change and an increase of the overall temperature of the globe, the overall body temperature of humans has been decreasing. According to a study conducted by researchers at Stanford University, showed nearly a degree decrease in the overall body temperatures of those born in the mid-1800s and those born in the mid-1990s. Regardless of the unique fungal creatures that make The Last of Us, the story is filled with gut-wrenching events and beautifully constructed story arcs. I cannot recommend this game enough, and if you don't play video games, go watch the show. There's no excuse. Thank you for watching. Endure and survive.